discuss.
I have application for the 4th of July parade. We want to be in the parade.
Yeah, there are applications out, exactly. What I'd like to do is, again, from the Veterans Council, we do have signs for the vehicles and whatnot, and we try and get a couple veterans organizations to also be in the same parade. You know, we got American Legion in Riverview and Marine Corps League in Riverview. Let's try and get VFW. So that's a thought. That's further down the road. Okay, Pam.
Sure. Justin won't need it, but I will. I'm introducing Justin and Christy Works. They've been down here 2 weeks training, getting a dog for Justin's disability. And I'm going to turn it over to Justin, who can tell you his story better than I can.
Okay. All right, I'll tell you a little bit about myself. I'm still currently active duty. I've been in the Army for 10 years. Been to OIF 1, 03, 04, I was deployed, got injured, deployed 05, 06, 10 months later, and then went to Korea, sat on the north border up there for 6 months, came back after a year in Korea. 4 months later, 6 months later, I was deployed 08, 09, back to Iraq. Since 09, I have not walked into a mall. I have not walked into Walmart or anything. My wife has been without my wife. It got to the point that I couldn't even walk in there, even with her. I had to have, there was days I couldn't even go in there. I had to have her go in by herself. I had to sit in the car because I couldn't trust people around me, because the people that you shook hands with in Iraq were the same people that were blowing you up. So she's been my service dog, so to speak, and I don't mean that in a bad way. But
pretty one. I'm being replaced though.
She's been through a lot with me, with my PTSD and everything like that. I'm not ashamed to tell you what I have, because we're all veterans. So that's my invisible disability. And Christy here has dealt with me for 2 years. Has it been? Well, she dealt with me while I was in Iraq too, and she would keep me calm and collective over there, because I had times over there that I was about ready to just, I don't know. Like when he was talking about the CENTCOM stuff, I was starting to get a little, I don't know, I just kind of getting aggravated, because it was bringing back memories. And it wasn't his fault, but it was just memories. But
He's currently getting med boarded right now to get medically retired. We have approximately about a month left, and we'll be through with the Army and all. And he's been to psychiatrists, he's been to therapists, he's on all kinds of medications, and I'd honestly thought we'd reached the end of our rope. Army doesn't want him, Army doesn't need him. He's no good to them anymore. He can't go to war, so they don't care about him anymore. So kick him out, we're done with him, and shove him off. That's how they work now. And I got directed on service dogs for PTSD. Didn't know nothing about it, because I, like the majority of everybody else, they're only for CNI dogs, they're only for the deaf. It's not true. They are for people like Justin that has PTSD and invisible disabilities. And the Wounded Warrior program had actually gave me their website and said there was a couple of places, on there and all, and I could check them out and all. And I emailed, because I had a lot of questions, how does a dog help PTSD? Never heard of such. Never heard back from them, so I went to researching myself, and I read all I could about them. And in the midst of researching and all, I ran across Hallie's Canines for Veterans, and I was kind of skeptical of emailing them, because all the other organizations that I was directed to never did respond back. It's like they didn't care, just like the Army doesn't care at this point. It's the way we feel. But I said, why not? Worst can happen is I not hear from them like I did everybody else. And I emailed emailed Mr. Mike, and within 3 or 4 hours, he emailed me back. He cared. He knew what my husband was going through because he goes through the same thing. And that means more than anything else that anybody's ever tried to do. I mean, don't get me wrong, they've sent him to therapists, they've sent him, you know, everything, but his PTSD is different than the next person's PTSD. There's no way of saying, you know, oh, well, it's all the same, because it's not. It's totally not. And it affects everything in your life. It affects your child, it affects your marriage, it affects your family. I mean, my husband hasn't talked to his mother other than when I have forced him to in the past 2 years, and it's only because I make him, because he doesn't want to have to deal with it, because he's not that little boy anymore pre-Army. He's just never going to be that. And the meds, they help some, not going to lie, but in the past 2 weeks, my husband, on the very first day, he went to Walmart without me. He went to a mall without me, and he went all because of this guy right here. He doesn't need me anymore as far as me being right here beside him going, it's okay. Every time we walk by and we see a Muslim. Don't have to worry about it anymore. This guy right here will take care of him. And because of this, I owe it all to them right there. Because that man right there cared enough, because he knew what we were going through, to email me back. And we got in here, what? It was about 2-3 weeks, and we were here. It took about 2 or 3 weeks to plan it out, you know, to get the leave time from the Army, you know, because, I mean, you have to work that. I mean, that's just part of it, you know. But, I mean, it took us 2 or 3 weeks to get it all scheduled out and everything, and they were here with open arms, opened their house to us and everything else. And, you know, I thank them. I thank them from the bottom of my heart. My family thanks them, even though they haven't said it in person. His family and his son. You know, it's marvelous what these guys do, and it's marvelous what this dog does for my husband, because if you get on their website, you can see pictures of my husband smile, and I've never seen him smile like that. Never. And I have my husband back, finally. And, you know, I just wish more people would realize what these dogs can do for these guys that have PTSD, because I'm sorry, the medicine doesn't cut it. It doesn't give them their life back. It doesn't give us our husband back. It doesn't do none of that. But this dog, it's doing it. And I wish that the military and everybody else would get on board and start backing this for all these guys that are getting med boarded and getting out, to send them to get them a dog, because it works. I can sit here and tell you for a fact, in 2 weeks, it works. And if they could just even start funding, you know, and help out, because these things cost. But, you know, we're on military income. We can't afford to pay it. But, you know, thank goodness these guys, they do nonprofit. They're doing it out of their own pocket, out of the kindness of their heart. And to me, that means more to me than anything in the world. Because if it wasn't for them, I wouldn't have him right now the way he is. Because he wouldn't be standing up here talking to y'all. He wouldn't even have come to here, because he wouldn't have wanted to have to face what he possibly would have had to have faced. And the video that you were showing, the slideshow, he couldn't have sat in there. I think he'd have had to have been popping Klonopins just to be able to sit through it, and I probably would have had to have walked him out. But when it started bothering him, he reached down and started doing what he's doing right now, and it calmed him down, and he was able to sit through it.
Thank you for your story. It's marvelous.